Social media. It's something that's ingrained itself into our everyday lives. Some people can't live without it, and others think it's a toxic wasteland. But no matter what your opinion on it is, the fact is that it's everywhere. And its effect on people can vary depending on how long and why the person's on social media in the first place. But with all this being said, a big demographic for these social media apps and websites is the youth, usually between the age range of 13 or 15 up to 18. For starters, what is social media? Social media is defined in the dictionary as a form of electronic communication, like websites for networking or microblogging, in which these users create these online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content like videos. Some of those popular apps that we're going to take a look at today, though, are Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. Let's dive into some of the statistics. Facebook, while it isn't being used too much by the younger crowd compared to the other apps, it is the biggest social network around the world, with roughly 2.89 billion active users as of mid to late 2021. Only 2.9 of those users being the age range of 13 to 17, and then a big jump to 18.1% in the 18 to 24 range. Instagram has roughly 1 billion active users, with 4.1 of those being the 13 to 17 range, and a whopping 25.6% of those in the 18 to 24 range. TikTok, like Instagram, has roughly 1 billion active users, despite it being one of the newer social media apps created in 2016. The range is a bit different for TikTok, so roughly 25% of these total users are in the 10 to 19 range. Twitter has roughly 396 million active users, with 6% of those being the 13 to 17 range, and 17% of those being the 18 to 24 range. And finally, Snapchat. Snapchat has roughly 305 million active users, with a whopping 48% of those being in the range of 15 to 25. Now let's see how these social media apps affect the youth.
Basic.
Chaotic.
Retard. Show off.
The eager to seek approval online is seen in profiles like Facebook when people form comments about you and they form your ideal identity of oneself. This article by Kate Davis, Youth Identity in a Digital Age, she explains how our view of ourselves is seen through a looking glass online, how we imagine how others perceive us. And she also points out that it's like a performance, and whoever's on the other side is our audience, and we have this eager to seek approval from them. And what is your real name online, and how do we express that with others?
Aspect about social media and its effect on our youth is surveillance, more so in the aspect of being able to see what others are doing, or what it means for others to be able to see what you're doing, and the implications of that. Of course, there's things like government surveillance, but it is not the topic of today. I grabbed an excerpt from the article Interpersonal Surveillance on Social Media by author Daniel Troitor. These interviews, and it was pretty much an article of interview and research that was conducted on mostly young college age students. Not exactly the most youthful, but I consider it youth. So the interview goes as follows. It's my damn friends, man. Like, there's homecoming and there's a bunch of people coming up to homecoming, and for a lot of my friends, Facebook is the only reliable way to get a hold of them, which is annoying. It's real annoying because I really don't want to be on it. Probably after university's done, I probably won't be, but I don't know. Right now, it's almost too convenient not to have it. So, essentially, in most aspects, it's so like feedback or rewarding by virtue of being able to see what others are doing and for others to see what you're doing, because it essentially means you can keep contact with each other and stay in close proximity with each other. And it's at a point where, like in this example, even despite Facebook having some annoyance for whatever reason, they're still incentivized not to leave it, because then they'd probably lose a huge chunk of like social interaction if they can't see or be seen.
And move on to what would be the effects of social media on body image on youth.
When we're talking about body dysmorphia on the clinical disorder side of things, we're talking about significant differences in the body image versus what is in the mirror, or what somebody else might see versus what your mind and eyes see. So it's really like looking in a fun mirror where all of these things are accentuated. It's like a caricature. It won't look the same for everyone, but some people may see large knees. Some people may see extra wide hips. Some people may see skin that hangs over when they sit.
And who has a better car or who's taking the most vacations. And we can relate this to the beauty standards that were placed many years ago that keep one group like white women superior to another group black women. If you look online or you search, for example, handsome men, you'll see that they're mainly all white men. And according to the Black feminist theory, the devaluation of U.S. black women is rooted in the institution of American slavery. Black women's bodies were routinely violated for others' profit, pleasure, and entertainment, and during the slave era, negative controlling images of black women emerged. Black women were viewed as hypersexual Jezebels. Here we have Sarah Bartman, known as the Black Venus, who was placed in an exhibit around Europe for men and women to go see because of her physique, whereas Kim Kardashian is considered body goals. This can also cause people to want to bleach their skin or go tanning, which can also cause health conditions. Many studies on what would be the impact of social media on body image in youth. This one by Dixon, it does demonstrate that media exposure affects women and girls of color differently than white women and girls. It also demonstrates that attitudes towards social media feedback received on selfies are related to the body image disturbance in young women. In general, it can cause restricted eating, anxiety, depression, and compulsive behavior.
Connection with youth is that I've been an educator for over 20 years. I also have children ranging from 21 to 10 years old. So I deal with a wide range of ages. And then I also work to coach teachers. Right now I'm coaching 8 teachers at elementary school. Well, it's elementary to high school. So I get to kind of talk with them a lot about youth engagement and supporting youth, especially with, right now we're really focused on culturally responsive.
I've been in the Chicago public school system for 22 years. I started as a first grade teacher, and then I got my master's in school counseling. I spent a couple years on the elementary counseling side, and now I've been in the high schools for 16 years.
Question we have is, how much time do you think youth, or even like in this case your children, spend on social media?
Well, what I know is from the time they get out of school at 2:31, I believe that they are on their phones until they fall asleep in the middle of the night.
Too much.
There been any topics or things that they come to speak to you about regarding social media?
Oh, it's varied through the years, but a lot of teenage drama, I would say, is brought to the school in the mornings based on what happened at night on social media. Low self-esteem and the feeling of wanting to, well, you know now where everybody is, what they're doing, what they look like, who's doing this, who's doing that. So I think students are trying to find their authentic self, but it's very hard on social media because everyone's putting out their own image. I just met with a parent last week of a senior girl who feels like her phone and social media and Netflix binging and all of that within the 18 months of the pandemic and virtual learning has totally changed their daughter. And they specifically blame her phone and what's happening in social media. And, you know, she's been hospitalized for her mental health, and she's on a medication, and they're trying to take her phone away.
And I think many people can probably recall or know someone that's done this. So we know that this is a real consequence of allowing Facebook and Instagram and all these corporations to have no policies on how they do. There's no policies that dictate what they can or cannot do. They can just do whatever they want to us.
Why is it that you think people go on social media?
One of the basic things we do as humans is that we, and this is something we've done since we were born, is that when we need something, we call out. That's why babies cry. They're hungry, they're cold, they just want to hug, whatever. That's the reason they're going to cry. That's their call out. So as humans, we're always calling out because we're searching for connection. That's the part that we can't turn off in our brain because it's one of the most like important parts of us as humans. So the call out, so that's why when your phone gives you notifications, like it sends oxytocin to your brain, like it sends this sensation to you. And that's
one of the ways that people can deal with like the negative parts of it, I guess in this case specifically youth,
is I talk to them a lot about that. I talk to them a lot about looking at the images that are feeding them. And I think I show them by explaining to them why I decided to pull myself out, and to explain to that even though I'm a grown 45-year-old woman, it still was making me feel bad inside.
It's a commitment to themselves and bettering themselves, of having a break every day from any of that. And I know 2 hours is probably a lot to ask for a teenager. So whatever they feel it should be, they have to break away from it.
It's bad that people can talk around the world. I think that's really empowering. And I know that during a lot of the uprising, a lot of young people use social media to call people to different spaces so that they can, have their voices heard. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but we got to get a little smarter than what it is right now, or just be smarter about how we don't allow it to manipulate the way we feel or what we.
Documentary would not be complete without the responses and interviews of youth, which are the population directly impacted by social media in our topic. We decided not to interview the students on video because of waiver consent from their parents. However, I was able to ask them a few questions offline. I do mentor high school students bi-weekly, and these are what they responded to these questions. I asked them how much time they spent on social media, and they reported that on a weekly basis, they spend anywhere from 4 to 27 hours per week. Majority of them reporting spending more than 20 hours per week on social media. The following question was which social media platforms they use the most. They reported using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, with Snapchat and TikTok being the most used social media platforms. And lastly, I asked them how social media makes them feel, and these are direct quotes from the students. I enjoy being on social media and it makes me feel happy, but at times a sad post can make me feel a little upset, but for the most part, I enjoy being on it. Social media makes me feel sometimes negative because seeing like other girls with better body images makes me insecure at times, so that's why I would say it is negative for me at times. I think social media makes me feel motivated to create change in myself through things that I learn. And there's also some stuff that are not so positive that can be changed. And this last comment was also shared by one of the students. It makes me laugh and distracts me for a moment to help feel a little better. Thank you.